20 years after his disappearance in 1908, an aged Butch Cassidy, now living under the alias James Blackthorn in a quiet Bolivian village, decides to end his long exile and return to the United States after hearing that his former lover, Etta, has died of tuberculosis. He writes to their son, Ryan, expressing his intent to come home. After years of solitude and raising horses, he tells his current lover, Yana, that he'll see her again before departing Bolivia. He then heads to Potosi to sell his horses. In Potosi, Blackthorn withdraws his life savings from the bank, buys a new suit, enjoys a card game with the horse buyers, and begins his journey back to the village. On the way, he comes across a dead horse and investigates, only to be ambushed. His attacker tries to flee with his horse, but Blackthorn shoots the animal, throwing the man off. Unfortunately, his horse bolts away with all his money. The attacker turns out to be Eduardo Apodaca, a Spanish mining engineer who claims he mistook Blackthorn for someone chasing him. As night falls, Blackthorn berates Eduardo, saying his future rode off with that horse. Eduardo pleads for his life, fearing Blackthorn is going to kill him when he pulls out a knife, only to be surprised when Blackthorn cuts him free instead. Flashback to 1900 in the US. Butch Cassidy is trapped in barbed wire on a fenced-in farm, struggling to reach his gun as two armed riders approach. He's saved just in time by his partner, the Sundance Kid, and Etta. As Sundance Kid frees him from the wire, Butch tells him they need to flee the country and head to South America. Back in the present, Eduardo catches up to Blackthorn and begs for his help, offering a share of the $50,000 he stole from Simón Patiño, a wealthy Bolivian industrialist and mine owner. The money is stashed in an abandoned mine, and he promises Blackthorn a cut for his assistance. Blackthorn agrees to help, but demands half the money, saying Eduardo owes him for every step taken without a horse and every hour without water. He warns Eduardo that if the money isn't real, he'll kill him. Blackthorn and Eduardo journey across the desert plateau, with Patiño's men less than a day behind them. They pause at a cantina to buy drinks and ammunition. Outside the abandoned mine where the stolen money is hidden, Eduardo grows suspicious and asks Blackthorn if he plans to kill him once they retrieve the cash. He even points a gun at him, one he secretly stole at the cantina. Calmly, Blackthorn distracts him and reveals he had already removed the bullets. However, once they're inside the mine, it's revealed Blackthorn had only bluffed. He never touched Eduardo's gun. They discover the money, but Patiño's posse arrives. In the chaos, Blackthorn shoots out their lanterns, allowing him and Eduardo to flee in the dark with the money. They buy cheap horses and head to Blackthorn's cabin. There, the old outlaw reflects on his past and lost friendships. In a flashback to 1905 in San Juan, Argentina, a sick Butch Cassidy is holed up in a motel with the Sundance Kid and Etta. Later, Butch and Sundance are caught at gunpoint by local authorities and interrogated by Detective Mackinley. Etta bursts in, holds the officers at gunpoint, and helps them escape. Back in the present, Yana joins Blackthorn and Eduardo at the cabin. Blackthorn gifts her a pocket watch he won in a card game. At first, she dismisses it as a gringo machine, but ultimately accepts it as a keepsake to remember him by. Though he asks her to stay the night, she says she must return to her family. However, later that evening, Yana quietly returns to the cabin to spend one final night with him before his departure. The next morning, two women from the pursuing posse arrive at the cabin, searching for Eduardo. One of them pulls a hidden gun and shoots Blackthorn. Yana quickly reacts, shooting one of the attackers, but is fatally shot in return. Eduardo kills the remaining woman. Heartbroken, Blackthorn holds Yana's body and weeps. Eduardo later disposes of all the bodies in the river and tends to Blackthorn's wound. With the rest of the posse still in pursuit, the two men continue their escape. A flashback shows Butch in Viacha, Bolivia, dropping off a pregnant Etta at a train station as she prepares to return to the US. She pleads with him to come along, but he refuses. Back in the present, Blackthorn and Eduardo traverse the vast Uyuni salt flats. aiming to reach the coast where Blackthorn hopes to find a ship home. Midway through the journey, the posse catches up and begins to surround them. Blackthorn tells Eduardo to take the strong horse and the money and ride in a different direction. Two men chase Blackthorn and shoot down his horse, but before they can reach him, he shoots both with deadly precision. Meanwhile, Eduardo kills one of his pursuers but runs out of bullets. As another assailant prepares to shoot him at close range, Eduardo stabs the man, killing him. Another flashback shows San Vicente, Bolivia, in 1908. A wounded Butch and Sundance flee the Bolivian army. They realize the army mistakenly believes two other dead bodies are theirs, allowing them to disappear unnoticed. In the present, a weakened Blackthorn collapses and is rescued by a salt farmer who takes him to a doctor in Tupiza. The doctor recognizes the man and contacts former Pinkerton detective Mackinley, now retired and living in Bolivia. Mackinley confirms the outlaw's identity. For years, he insisted that the men killed in San Vicente weren't Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Now he has proof. Initially, Mackinley informs the Bolivian authorities, but then changes his mind. He returns Blackthorn's pistol and helps him escape. Later, Mackinley learns that Blackthorn had been traveling with the Spaniard, Eduardo. He informs Blackthorn that the $50,000 Eduardo stole wasn't taken from the powerful industrialist Patino, as claimed, but from the cooperatives of poor mining families who had recently taken over Bolivia's mines. Mackinley expresses disbelief. How could he have missed something the whole country was talking about? He tells Blackthorn this isn't something the real Butch Cassidy would have ever done. Horrified, Blackthorn replays his earlier shootouts with the posse in his mind, now seeing them as innocent men defending their people. Though deeply disappointed, Mackinley chooses not to turn Blackthorn in. Flashbacks show Butch with the dying Sundance Kid, gravely wounded and asking Butch to end his suffering. With great sorrow, Butch fulfills his partner's final request and takes his life. Back in the present, a shaken Blackthorn sets out to track Eduardo through the Andes, with both the Bolivian army and the miners' posse in pursuit. When he finds him, Blackthorn confronts Eduardo about the truth. Eduardo admits it. The money was stolen, just from different owners. In response, Blackthorn shoots him in the leg and takes his gun. Eduardo assumes it's all about the money, but Blackthorn clarifies it's not. He simply never cared for the difference between rich and poor owners. Blackthorn releases the horse and leaves Eduardo, along with the money, to face the approaching soldiers. Moments later, the Bolivian army arrives and executes the thief. The army continues on with Mackinley until they reach a harsh and isolated region. As punishment for aiding Blackthorn's earlier escape, the commander abandons Mackinley there without a horse. In the closing scene, Blackthorn, remembering his life and friends in better days, is last seen looking back over his shoulder and presumably escaping across the mountains. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.